Welcome, all you here in the wilderness. Today is the fifth Sunday after Epiphany, and today we will hear more of the foundational piece of the teachings by Jesus. This is a continuation of his homily following the Beatitudes. Next week, we will hear more from this particular sermon. And for those of you in the Bay Area, I will be giving next week's homily live at 8 and 10 at St. Andrew's in Saratoga. This is the congregation, St. Andrew's in Saratoga, that lifted me up into ministry. I will be acting as a supply priest there as they move between rectors through March 26th. And we are foregoing a hymn this week, and maybe next week as well. I don't know yet. But here we have a reading from Matthew, chapter 5, verses 13 through 20. Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth. But if a salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Do not think I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter, will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." How the world has changed. Today in our culture, salt is a seasoning. It was in Jesus' day as well, but it was much more than that. When you salt food as seasoning, it keeps its saltiness, if that's all you're using the salt for. However, in an era where there was no refrigeration and you needed to preserve your fish or meat or other protein, you could use the salt to dry it and keep it. You'd pack it away in salt rather than in ice. And this would work until the saltiness was used up. You could reuse the salt until that saltiness had been used up. Everyone in Jesus' day would have related to that. Metaphors, like salt, can lose their meaning over time, however. Remember, too, this is a continuation of his sermon. We're still in his stock homily, the teachings that he gave from place to place. He has been asking people to see the world differently in this homily, to see the kingdom of God all around. And this is hard on a continual basis. You need, from time to time, to refresh your view. And as people, the ones he is preaching to, he says they are important. You are important, valuable, like the salt of his day. In fact, wages sometimes were paid in salt. To see the kingdom, you need to work at it. You need to get refreshed. It isn't just one and done. He goes on and talks about light on a hilltop. We are all of us, light in the darkness, beacons to those around us. The more we see the kingdom in our lives, the more that will shine out into the world. But not if we keep it to ourselves. This way, Jesus was teaching, the things that Jesus was teaching were never about us individually. It was never about saving our own self. For he or she who tries to save their lives will lose it. If we become more important than the world around us, we will damage it. Perhaps inadvertently, but we will damage it. Damage our relationships with the kingdom, with our very existence. Now, there is a truism in interpersonal relationships that conflict is low when one side is not as invested in the outcome as the other. If we both want something an equal amount and that desire is high, we both want things an equal amount and high, then conflict happens. When one side is able, through trust, experience, empathy, to put themselves aside for a moment, then conflicts diminish. And yes, I know there are people who do take advantage of this and refuse to compromise or share or ever see your view. This creates its own set of conflicts. And they are being all about themselves. When we hide our feelings, when we hide our blessings, hide the light within us, we cut ourselves off. And we do that for whatever reason, a multitude of reasons. But when we do that, the grace, the light we are, the experience that gives us that grace, when we don't share it, we do a disservice, not just to ourselves, but to the whole world. Because that grace never originates in us. It is, though, all of our responsibilities to share what is given so that we might make room in our lives for more to enter. If we hold on to it, pretty soon we'll fill up and then no more can come in. Jesus reminded us that none of this is or was new. He didn't come to change anything that the holy ones before him had shared. He came to free it, to fulfill it. And then he puts the onus on us to do the work. The commandments are about living life honestly. We are not the center. That which we know, or at least can know as God, is. So honor that. We are not more important than others around us. They are all given their own gifts, their own lives. We are not to take or control them. Their gifts are theirs, and if we yearn for what others have, we won't see the light and grace in ourselves. These are the essence of the commandments. Love first, the center from where all life and grace flows. And lift up and love those around you. And I contend, not just the humans, not just the human neighbors, but all of life. This is a hard job, a continual task. And we will need renewal, like the salt used up to preserve the fish, if we're to get by another day. And when we do this, when we do the work we've been given to do, the kingdom of heaven will unfold around us. Sometimes like a fog slowly lifting. Sometimes like the sun breaking through or awakening from a dream. And the kingdom of God is for us all. As he mentioned, even those that fail in the task, while perhaps the least, still exist in the kingdom with us. Those who teach differently will be considered the least in the kingdom of heaven, but they're still in the kingdom of heaven because the kingdom of heaven is all of creation. So teach only love. Forgive often. Recognize the light of the Spirit in all, and you will be continually renewed and called great in the kingdom. We are all the salt which preserves. We are the way creation loves each other. We are the way, one of the ways that grace passes from hand to hand. Share that and rejoice. Amen. As usual, if you've found this homily beneficial, make sure to like and subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below. I pray that this endeavor will be meaningful to you and that you will share your journey with others. We may exist in the wilderness, but we are not alone here, rest assured. Leave a comment if you want, and come on back to this channel in the wilderness. I remain yours in faith. Until next time, blessings to you all.